Hello, hello. Good people. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. You know the drill. I have to get everything set up. And while I wait on my guest tonight, but I wanted to make sure I got in here on time.
Happy Wednesday. You know the drill.
So come on in, make yourself comfortable while I get everything set up. Just a second. Hey. Okay. About to share. All right. Hey, y'all. Come on in the room. Come on in. Come on in. Just waiting on my special guest to join us. But while we wait, hello. So excited about tonight's conversation. This is going to be really, really good. Really, really excited. Hey, girl. Hey, Janelle. Come on in and make yourself comfortable. I'm just waiting on my special guest to join us. He had a live that he was finishing up on his show, The God Hour. So he will be joining us in just a second. Because we got some things to talk about tonight. A lot of things to talk about. We're talking about marriage. It's been a lot of talk about marriage lately. So I want to see what y'all think. So make sure as you're tuning in, no, sir. Check your email, Mr. Burnz. Check your email. So make sure that, you ask questions also. Because we want to get your point of view as well. Check your email, Nat Busy. We'll be getting started in just a second. In just a second. Hello, hello, lovely people. Welcome. Just waiting on my special guest to tune in. And like I said, this is going to be an interactive discussion. So make sure you bring your questions because we want to hear what you have to say. Hey. Hello, hello. We will be with you shortly. Just give us a few minutes. All right, here we go. Hello.
Peace, beloved. How are you? Am I looking crazy? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we live. You good? You are fine.
I'm trying to get it right. I couldn't change, so I just took my hat off so I could be a gentleman. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, thank you. You're so kind. So
How
kind.
are you, beloved?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm all right. Just doing a little double duties today, but it's
I
all
know
love.
you've been busy. You're doing your thing. It's all good. We're gonna have a good time tonight. We have some people already joined in, saying hello to us. So hey, y'all.
Hello, y'all. How y'all doing?
All right. How you a bit parched? I know. Get you something to drink, some water, whatever. Get hydrated because we are about to go in on tonight.
Indeed. Let's do it.
All right. So if this is your first time tuning in, I am Siobhan Carter, the You Relationship Coach. And what that means is I am passionate about all things concerning relationships, especially the relationship that you have with yourself. So tonight, I have a special guest who is no stranger to this platform. He has been on a time before. And not only is he my special guest, but he is also my partner in Chime, is what we like to call it, because we are launching a new podcast this year that we're so excited about. Yes. And it's called What's the Situation?
Situation, baby.
What's the situation? So
sometimes you gotta ask that question.
Yeah. So this is going to be a little sneak peek into what you can expect on our new podcast starting this year. So if you're on Instagram, go ahead and look us up. What's the situation _PC on Instagram, and stay tuned for our show that's coming out this year that we're so excited about. But anywho, so my special guest is Nat Burnz. So tell the people a little bit about yourself before we get started.
My name is Nat Burnz. I'm an artist. I'm an activist. I'm a host. I do a whole lot of things. I'm a father. I'm a father of the village. I'm a brother. I'm a good brother. At least I try to be, at most times, be a good brother to my community. And I host this conversation called the God Hour over on Instagram, 7 o'clock, most days through Friday, depending on what else I got to do in life. But most times when I get a chance to, I like to chop it up with the people and have a dialogue for our community.
Okay. All right. So make sure you check him out on Instagram, and you can also check him out on Facebook. Just look him up, Nat Busy. And just check out the episodes. He has some really, really good stuff that he's doing for the culture. So thank you for all that you do on the God Hour. All right, so let's get into this topic. What's the situation today? So we are talking about marriage over 40. Is it worth it? Right? So before we get into it, now, I don't want y'all to think that this is a conversation about bashing marriage, because it's not. We're just having a conversation, and we just wanted to talk about it. We talk about this offline as we're preparing for our podcast, and this topic came up, and we're both over 40, so we just wanted to have this dialogue. Huh?
You over 40?
I'm over 40. I'm about to be 40.
Out of here, girlfriend.
I'm about to be 43 this year. Yeah.
Out of here. I'm about to be 40 something this year too. I got a birthday in a couple of weeks.
I know, that's right. Happy early birthday. I'm gonna tell you again, but just happy early birthday.
You might not be able to say this next year about the 40 something, but that's not my problem.
Listen, it should be.
That's how numbers go, you know.
It's all good. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was a recent census data. I read an article and it talked about recent census data. So what it said in this article was the percentage of people who get married has decreased significantly since the 1970s. So it said for every 1,000 unmarried persons, 86 got married. Whereas, and that was in 1970. Whereas in 2019, for every 1,000 unmarried, only 33 got married. So what is that about? Like, let's start with that. What are your thoughts about that? Why do you think the rate of people getting married has decreased?
I think there's a lot of different reasons, but one of the main ones is the programming. Programming in the media, you know, the war of the sexes and things of that nature they talk about, you know. You raising a generation of women that say they don't need a man, so they raise, unfortunately, some sons who feel like they don't need to be men to some of these sisters, you know, and the sanctity of marriage isn't as respected as I think it was a few generations ago.
Yeah. And I want those watching, please chime in and share with us your thoughts as well, because I want to know what you all think. Why do you think the numbers for marriages has decreased? Now, it did say that those who are married, that marriages are lasting longer, but the numbers are going down for how many people are choosing to get married. So it said that people are choosing to cohabitate as opposed to getting married. So I'm just
Shacking
curious.
up. They want to shack
They
up.
want to shack up. So I live
Mhm.
with it. I live with it, but I don't want to
I'm
be
gonna test
committed
drive
like
you for
that.
about 30 years, but
Right,
you
right.
want to buy.
Yeah, yeah. So given the fact that both you and I have been married before, not to
You
each
been
other,
married before? No, I'm
not
just
to
playing.
each other, but we've been married before. And I believe, I believe marriage is a beautiful thing. I think it can work when you're with the right person. I don't know if I'll get married again. I'm not sure. I won't say never, but I'm not sure. I don't know. So I won't say that marriage is just a terrible thing. I think that now that I have experienced it, I understand how serious it is.
For
And
sure.
so it's like I'm not rushing to get into that level of commitment because it's not a game. I definitely wouldn't want to get married again and get divorced. So I just, I'm hesitant to get married, especially over 40. What about you?
Mm. And I
Keep
thought I was
reading.
ready for that question. Listen, I heard it said, and maybe I heard it in my own head, that you don't always love who you marry. You don't always marry who you love.
Okay. All
You
right.
know, I think as it pertains to marriage, it's just what it says. It's a legal thing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So, you may love chocolate cake,
Mm-hmm.
but that ain't what you want to be having to eat for the rest of your life. And I'm not just
Mm.
trying to say from a physical standpoint, meaning there may be somebody that you really have the hots for. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
we've lived long enough, and for me, after I suffered through some breaks and bruises, where you live long enough to say, why am I marrying this person? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Am I
Yeah.
marrying her really because she's pretty? Am I marrying her because she's got a nice body? Am I marrying her because she got good credit? Am I marrying her because she comes from a good family? Or am I marrying her because her soul resonates with my soul?
Mm.
Yeah, all that's well and good.
Yeah.
But what about that credit?
Mm-mm.
What about, what about some of the other habits she may or may not come with, or
Mm-hmm.
he may or may not come with? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we always think about that when we talk about getting married. I think we only look at it from an emotional standpoint and not necessarily a legal standpoint.
Yeah, and I believe that to be true. I remember when I first got married, I was excited about the idea of it, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize, the reality of it until I actually got into it. Like before, you couldn't tell me anything. I was so just stuck on I want to get married. This is how it's supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be and all of that. And so when it happened, it just didn't fit the fantasy that I had in my head. So I had to live with the reality. And it's like, whoa, that that's not what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
it's
they
not to
they
be played
they
with.
they sell it to us from we little kids,
Yeah, yeah,
They sell this thing that everybody has to get married, and
yeah.
I understand it fundamentally. I
Mhm,
understand it biblically, or
mhm,
through the Quran or something.
yeah, mhm,
Although the Bible and the Quran both have different messages that they send about marriage that makes you be a little taken aback when they say
right.
Solomon had many wives,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
in the Muslim faith you can have many wives. In the Mormon
mhm,
faith you can have more than one wife.
mhm,
The definition of marriage is really where we have some clash at as
mm.
couples.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see what Erica says. She says, so true. Mainstream media, when you're talking about mainstream media, has killed the idea of strong families and has definitely changed the programming of our culture.
Super facts.
Yeah, yeah, mainstream media. So Janelle says you can help someone repair their credit. We can get married with good credit and it can get bad. Yeah, that's true because
True
situations
indeed.
happen, life happens, And so, yeah, a lot of times we're like, I want somebody to have we have good credit, and we have this list of all things that we want them to have, not taking into account that, life happens and things change. They can lose their good job that they had and all that kind of stuff. So you just never know. So I think it's really, at the end of the day, for me, I think it's more about the character of the person as opposed to, all the other stuff, the superficial things that we focus on.
When we talk about character, that's what you want to marry, the character. I mean, is that necessary for that step in your relationship? Because to me, if I look at marriage from a historical perspective, and I tell people this all the time, I think what happened is, traditionally speaking, even with us being slaves, you know what I mean, we go back to the shackles, you know what I mean? It was always tough for us, because you may fall in love with this woman while y'all on this plantation together, and then master gets a wild hair up his behind and decides, I'm selling her to this man I owe some money to down the way. Is that even respected? And then how does she feel as your wife when you can't even protect her from master?
Yeah, that's a whole nother, I don't know.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole, because I couldn't even imagine that feeling of, I can't even imagine.
That's what we come from. You know what I'm saying? So we have to always keep that in mind as we move forward, because what happened as we move forward? It was Jim Crow. It's still another form of slavery where Black men just can't be Black men. We have to be strong Black men. Black women can't just be Black women. They have to be strong Black women, because all the trauma, all that stuff that we go through just trying to maintain, they put every obstacle in your way. The regular American couple ain't going through that.
So, well, let's talk about that. Since we're talking about men, let's talk about one of the things that I've heard men say, especially recently, which is kind of surprising, is that men don't. A lot of men, not all of them, but there are a lot of men out there who believe that there are no benefits to getting married. Like, they don't see the value in it, meaning that they don't feel like they benefit from it, and that the woman is the one that benefits more from it than a man. What do you think about that?
Depends on the man. You know, because I'm sure there's a man on a cell block somewhere that will benefit tremendously from me. Right. I do.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there's some men that are on some woman's couch playing PlayStation 5 right now.
That's she bought him, right?
Third shift at 11 o'clock at that hospital.
Yeah.
And she about to do a double, so he got time to go do some other stuff. You know, he may not have a problem with me getting married.
Okay.
But then there are some men that probably, you know, if you're looking at it from a materialistic standpoint, which to me it all boils down to say, why would I marry you? Take responsibility to this extent. What is the trade-off? What do I get out of that? And I think there's women for those same reasons should be asking those same questions.
Yeah. So let's talk about our topic then. So over 40, let's say a man over 40, he is settled. He's, content with his life. He got doing his own thing. Do you think a man in that situation would benefit, or would he say, I'm good. I'm just doing what I'm doing. I'm enjoying, I'm dating this woman or women. What are your thoughts?
Wow. And I only say that, because you got to be sensitive to, I got divorced right before I turned 40. You know what I'm saying? I got married at 30, got divorced right around 40. You know what I mean? And I was back out here. And it seemed to me that I was meeting a lot of women that before I felt they even know who I was in totality, the first thing they was talking about is they want to get married. You know what I'm saying? So I was left to feel like, do you want to marry me as a man, or do you want to marry me as a figure? You know what I'm saying? Is this just a role that I'm supposed to step into? Or are you in love with me? Are you going to, because, I've been married, I'm not ashamed to say I was married twice before. To people where we stood in front of the church, in front of our people and say, till death do us part. And we still alive, but we ain't together no more.
Right.
So these vows, I think we take very lightly. And I think that some women are wanting to be married simply because they've never been married before, or they just have some type of fantasy about being in a white dress and having their bridesmaids and the reception and the honeymoon. And some people want the wedding, but they don't want the marriage.
Now that I truly do believe that, because honestly, like I said, I was one of those people. I was the person who idolized marriage, I idolized marriage, and I didn't even have a big wedding. It was a small ceremony. But it was like it was like I saw, like I said before on the last episode, I saw marriage as a box that had all the things that I needed in it. And so as soon as I got married, I thought that it was going to just make me feel better as a person, that this man was going to be my knight in shining armor, and that all will be well with the world, and we will ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Because that's what I saw in the movies. I didn't have examples around me to show me the reality of, marriage. And so I, created this image in my head of this is how it should be. And so I was just like, yeah, I don't know. So I do believe that it is some of us, not all of us, but some of us do have this view, that it's more about getting married than it is about or the wedding, or getting to it just to say that I am, as opposed to it, being something that's long lasting.
Yeah, but we have to really break down what is marriage, though, because I felt the same way before my first marriage, but I was a kid, though. I didn't really know much. I was in the military. Anybody in the military or been married to a military person, that's almost like, it's part, you enlist, you do a couple years, you meet a woman, you marry her, you have kids. That's just what it was. And I had a lot of my friends that were getting married, or a lot of my friends that were married. So I was feeling left out of a lot of functions that were happening. They having couples night, they going on date night. You get tired. Even as a man, I was getting tired of saying, "Hi, this is so and so." Oh yeah, this is so and so. What happened to so and so? Like.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like that. And I can only imagine how that is as a woman, when you dating this guy, and then you bring this guy around, and now your friend's husband is like, "What's up with your mom? She sure do be having a lot of different ones, don't she?" So
yeah.
you have this pressure that says, "I want to settle down. I want to be with somebody that's just me. That's I ain't got to worry about."
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a tricky situation. So let's see. Janelle says, and some are so stuck on a timeline, like by this age, I want to be married. Yep. Yeah. I had a year. I said by 2009, I thought I was supposed to be married. I thought that's what God told me, right? I'm like, he did.
He did. But I don't want to get too preachy on you, but one thing that a good preacher will tell you, or anybody that'll tell you about manifesting things, you have to be detailed in what you're manifesting, because the universe will give you everything that you want. God will give you everything that you want, but be clear on what you want. Yeah, I just want to be married. Yeah, you'll be married, but to who?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I checked the marriage box. Right.
Yeah, you married.
Yeah.
But are you happy?
Right.
So maybe you should have said, "I want to be happily married to a man who shares my morals, my values, that wants to grow the way I want to grow, that wants to do some of the things I want to do, adventurous, all of this stuff." But you say, "I just want to be married because he got a good job, he looked good, he got a nice car, he owns some properties, he's this, he's that." But he got the personality of a pet rock.
Not a pet rock.
He just sit there. "Babe, what you want to do?" Okay. He look good in pictures. Y'all look good on the gram. Y'all look like y'all happy.
Right, on the gram. Yeah, we can put up a nice image on the gram. I'm telling you, it's so it's such a facade for some people, but it looks good. You look good together. You got matching outfits on and everything. So so
relationship goals.
Yeah, hashtag relationship goals, right? So, what are your thoughts about this? So, I've heard that men who have gotten married, and are married to the women that they believe, are the ones for them, say that their wives have helped them to grow as a man and to evolve from successful to just being great. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think that when you're connected to the right person, I know men have said this, but I believe it happens for women too, that if you connected to the right man, do you believe that being connected to the right person can really help you to grow, and thrust you into your greatness?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if that takes going down to the courthouse and getting a license and setting up a ceremony. I don't know if you have to do all of that to get that, but that's got to be one of the key attributes of a marriage, and it's vice versa. I shouldn't just be marrying a woman because she makes me a better man. I should be marrying a woman that I'm making a better woman as well, because my thing lately has just been people showing up to your life with a box in their hand. And that box is marriage.
Yeah.
That box is who they want you. Maybe you don't fit in the box. If I don't fit in this box that you showed up to my door with, how is that my fault? And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? I know what I want, but you close enough, but not quite. So you just gonna have to keep your head down a little bit, see if you can get in here, because I need you, because I gotta go to this Christmas party next year, and I ain't showing up by myself.
Yeah. And it's so unfair. And I think it happens, like you said, on both sides, where we have this idea of who we want to be with. We meet somebody that we know doesn't really meet, what we're looking for, but we try to shape and mold them into who we want them to be, so that we don't have to spend time trying to get to know somebody else, and just, maybe we're getting older or whatever the case may be. And it's like, it's not fair, because you're not accepting the person as they are. Like, I know we evolve, I know we grow, but I don't like to cook. So look, I'm not going to be that woman that's in the kitchen every day.
You're saying hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically speaking, because I can't cook. I can't cook. So, but it's like, if I'm a woman that doesn't like to cook or can't cook, and you're expecting me to be in the kitchen every day, like, you're not listening to me. I'm telling you, that's not who I am.
Or if I'm not the most mechanically inclined, if I'm not the most handy, your honey-do list is gonna look crazy when I'm like, honey, I can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
That's just not me. I'm not getting my hands dirty. I don't want no splinters. You gotta know who you're marrying. But that's what to tie back to what I was saying earlier about back in the day in tradition. Most of us came from a town in a neighborhood where we all knew each other. We all went to the same church. We all went to the same schools. We all went to the same social events. Your mother and my mother was friends. Me and you know each other since we 5-6 years old. We fall in love in middle school. We be high school sweethearts. We graduate high school. We go to college. We get married. And I've seen that living in the small town I lived in Troy, Alabama. Some of my classmates are still married to the people that they were with when we was in middle school.
Yeah.
Bugs me out. You know what I'm saying?
It can happen. It happens for a lot of people. Go ahead.
My little sister, may her soul rest in peace, but she was married to her husband from the time she was 17 until, she was no longer with us when she was in her 20s. You know what I mean? And that happens because you share the morals and the values, and somebody. I think today we're marrying virtual strangers. We're meeting each other online. We're meeting each other at the job, at the club, at the bar.
Yeah.
And then we trying to make them be what we want them to be. And he from the Bronx, New York. He grew up in the heart of the crack era.
Yeah.
He know how to look over his shoulder and all this stuff. And you grew up in Mississippi, and you have a certain way, and the opposites attracted. Y'all had good sex. Y'all had a lot of things. It couldn't sustain the test of time because you were so different in your moral fiber.
And that kind of goes with what Janelle is saying. Or how about those that know they're bad for each other or not compatible, but they have history? So that opposites attract, where you're too opposite to where this isn't connecting. Or maybe the one person is toxic, and it's like, this is not good, but we have history. Maybe we have a child together, or we've been with each other, like you said, since high school or middle school. And so
Mhm.
I got so much invested in this person. So how do I let that go? What do I
That's the
do?
funniest statement I hear. I got so much vested in this person.
I
That's
got
not
so
a bank.
much time,
That's not a listen. This is a human being with feelings that are
Yeah.
subject to always change when they don't even know it. That's why we
Mhm,
have things called mental illness and stuff like
mhm.
that. People go through stuff,
Yeah.
stress, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
look at it like this: you got to have sanity over vanity.
Sanity over vanity. Break it down, Nat. What
Because
does
you,
that mean?
because a lot of times when you say we know we bad for each other, but
Mm-hmm.
we got so much vested in this, or we got history. That's optics. That's what it looks like. Not even to you, to other
Mm-hmm.
people. That's what you're really saying to me is that how am I gonna tell my mother? How am I gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell how am I go back and tell some of them people that told me years ago to leave him alone
Mm-hmm.
that we breaking up now? So you do some things to save face.
But what if it's not even about the people? What if I'm so comfortable? Like I know he's crazy, right? I know how he moves. I know as soon as I say this, he gonna say this. So I know how he operates, right? And it
So
gets on
you
my
get
nerves. But it's like, I just rather be here than be out there because I just know him. Like, what about people that feel that way? So it's not even about the people, it's about that bond that we have is so strong that I don't feel like it's so much, to let it go. What about people that feel that way?
to me, that sounds like dealing with the devil you know.
Yep.
But why deal with the devil at all when you said you want an angel?
What you say?
Let's talk about it. And
Mm.
then when you say that bond, is it a bond or is it a bind?
Ooh, come on. What you say? Say that again.
Is it a bond? Turn to your neighbor. Got me on here preaching. Is it a bond or is it a bind? Or are you
Yeah.
bound to this person?
Mm.
Because that's something else. That's psychological, beloved. That's
Mhm.
never gonna just because that's just like an animal that's in the forest and he
Mm-mm.
gets caught in a trap. And you see him in that trap, and
Mhm.
he's hurting, it's agonizing to be in that trap. And you go, calm down, buddy. You got to tranquilize that animal
Yeah.
so it won't attack you to
Mhm.
get it in a better place.
Mhm.
Because there's a pain associated with healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't, and I seen a meme that said this, you can't heal in the same environment where you got sick. It's hard to. It can be done, but it's rare. If you're in a toxic environment and you're trying to be a better person, that's almost impossible. So you gotta take inventory as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Wait, put it on a scale. Say what are the good points of me and this man's relationship, and what are the ones that are just killing my spirit?
And I was just going to say that because there's a death that's happening. You are living, but you are dying on the inside because you are not being true to yourself.
Mm.
Because it's like if I know I'm with someone that I know
Mhm.
isn't the one for me, but I'm choosing to stay, a part of me is dying because I'm not listening to that part of me. I'm ignoring that part. I'm suppressing that part. And so I am just existing. I'm not living. I'm not thriving. I'm just existing. And then I can become bitter. I can become, just sad or just depressed or whatever because I'm not giving myself permission to experience all that I want to experience, like experience the love that I want, experience the life that I want. So then I start complaining and just all this negative, energy that is just surrounding me and forming up on the inside of me because I just won't let go because it's
Yeah,
comfortable, because it's familiar, because, all the other things.
and this is why I want to give a big shout out to my cousin Alan Harvey,
Mm,
who taught me at the age of 12, 13 years old about this term that they use in the Nation of Gods and Herbs called having knowledge of self.
yep.
You got to have knowledge of self. You got to know
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
because what happens is you'll be in a situation that you know ain't good for you,
Hmm.
but you're staying there. And I'm going to tell you what happens in a lot of cases, and it happens on both sides of the equation. You're in a situation that you know ain't good for you, and you decide one day, this is it. I can't do this no more.
Yeah.
I'm not going through this no more. And
Hmm.
you go to the person and you say, hey, look, I can't do this no more. What?
Hmm.
What you mean? All we've been through, all I did for you, and then they start playing on your mind, they start playing on your heart, and now you take another 5 years out your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the same behavior keeps going on. You know what I'm saying? And you're still dying. So yeah, you're dying. You made a choice though. It's all a choice though.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. And I love what Gwen says. Hey, sissy. So Gwen says there is so much freedom in just letting go. And if I have learned nothing else, I have learned the beauty of letting go. Like I have been with some amazing individuals, not, so I won't say even my ex-husband, like all of my relationship experiences, I see them as teachers. They taught me something about myself and they taught me something about life. So I don't take anything away from them. But when I realized that I needed to let go, that the relationships that I was in just was not aligning with who I was as a person, there is so much freedom in saying, you know what, I can't do it because I'm saying yes to myself. And there is so much empowerment in saying yes to me, even when it means hurting myself, and having to release this relationship and hurting the other person. But it's just, I feel so much freer, and it's just, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation. So what if you've been with all of, you've had relationship experiences, right? And then you get to a point where you're over 40, you're getting older, you're maybe even over 50. And you're like, look, I have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I don't know if I want to do this again, or ever, even if you've never been married, but I don't know if I want to do this. What would you say to those people who, are getting older, have had experiences and just like, I don't know if marriage is for me?
I mean, you got to listen to that. You definitely got to listen to it. And then you got to ask yourself, why? Why? What is so important to you about this thing called marriage? Is it because your pastor keeps talking about it in church and the first lady at your church keeps talking about it in Bible study and in the women's group? And everywhere you go, everybody keep telling you, girl, you need to find you a husband, girl. You need to get you a husband. You out here, girl, you better get you a husband. You're beautiful. Have you talked to Clarence? Have you talked to this one? Have you talked to that? And they just trying to match make with you for whatever reason. They ain't got to live with this man after you make this choice. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of peer pressure in that regard. But what you were saying just a little while ago about there's a freedom in letting go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a freedom in saying, you know what? I got to do what's best for my spirit. I'm sorry, Charles. I know this is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
But I can't do this no more. And at that point in the movie is when all the ladies usually go, you go, girl.
Right.
Yes. But I always see them same movies when the man say that to the woman, they like, oh, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. How
he didn't take her this far down the road just to leave her like that.
Speak on it. Talk about it from the male's perspective. Tell us.
It's hard because sometimes as a man, you probably had this idea in your head that you said, you know what? I'm going to make this kind of money. I'm going to get this kind of career. I'm going to get this kind of woman. And we're going to live happily ever after.
Wow.
And then she's doing things that don't coincide with your spirit. And you're like, I don't know if I can do this. But you can't leave her. What that's gonna look like? What pastor gonna say? You know what I'm saying? What are her brothers gonna say? There's some situations where we co-opt the families where now I'm best friends with your brother.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Your mother loved me like her own son.
Yep.
We don't know how to go to these people and say, hey, y'all, we tried it, but.
Wow. Wait, so you're bringing up a good point because I've never looked at it from that perspective. It's more acceptable for a woman to say, you know what? I just can't do it anymore. I'm going to walk away. Whereas the man is crucified for doing that. Maybe he went through the same internal struggle and he's like, you know what? I love myself enough to walk away. Yeah. But you don't get women. Yeah, men aren't allowed to do that in a lot of instances because you're vilified for that if you make that choice. Wow.
It's the damned if you do, damned if you don't situation in a lot of times because if you do it, you get the scorn of, oh, he left that girl like that. Yeah, he could have did better by her. Yeah, he take care of the babies, but the way he did her, he low down. And then he gonna get with that other girl and they just be prancing around town. And you're like, what? But when she
Wow.
leaves him, because she say
Mm,
she can't, I was dead, you know, and then she moves on. He's like, oh, girl, she looking good. You know, she got a little boo. She got a new boo.
mm.
You
Go,
know,
girl, live your life, boo. That's
yeah. My
it's so
man Oz, what up,
encouraging.
Oz?
Yeah, I said when we walk away, they call it abandonment. Wow, that is so true. It's like y'all don't get to live in your truth, but we do.
Yeah.
Man, I
And I'm
never
gonna
thought
tell
about it.
you, and I'm not ashamed to say it because this is
Mhm.
the way I feel about it. They can get a platform and they can talk about how they felt about it. Matter of
Yeah,
fact, me and my first wife talked about this on my platform at the God Hour. There's an episode that I may highlight soon where we had
uh-huh.
an in-depth conversation about our marriage when we were 22 and she was 20 years old. You know what
You
I'm
and your
saying?
ex-wife. Uh-huh.
Yeah, she came on an episode of the God Hour. But in
Mhm.
those situations that I was in, there was a lot of ways I felt abandoned. You know what I mean? Like
Wow.
because in both of those situations, when I was married, I always ended up living out of town. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And they would have family in those towns, you know, but I ain't got no family in that town. So when
Mm.
she decide she want to do something else, she can go do something else and still be with her family and all her friends. And
Mhm.
here I am at the house just looking like a da-dum, like,
Which of the dun on? Yeah.
yeah, I'm a
Uh-huh.
da-dum. You know, and then as soon as I decide I'm gonna move on, get me a new lady, everybody gonna say, that's what he wanted to do anyway.
Y'all can't win. So I said it's true. If a woman wilding out or does something foul, first question you ask is, "What you do to her? What you do?" Well, it's got to be your fault, right, Oz? It's got to be your fault. You did something.
Yeah,
That's so unfair. We do it though. I can't lie. We do it because we just automatically assume that it was the man's fault
yeah. I
because
was just laughing at your real-time censorship skills. I applaud you for
oh yeah, you know, yeah.
that.
Oh man,
Nah, but
yeah.
that's
So
how it happens, man. But it happens vice versa. It depends.
it
It
does.
sporadically happens vice versa if this girl is in the same situation that you find
Yeah,
yourself in.
yeah, yeah,
You done isolated her in a sense. She may
yeah.
come from a situation where she don't have a family. You know
Right.
what I mean? And your family takes her in, but you treating her
Mm-hmm.
bad. They know you treating her bad. They've
Yeah.
been telling her you treating her bad. They
Mm-hmm.
cover up for you treating her bad. They know you foul. You got other
Yeah.
kids on her and everything. And
Mm.
when she decides that she
Enough
wants to
is
move
enough.
on,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we took care of her. She
Mm.
didn't have nothing when she came here. We got her on her feet. Now she gonna leave my brother. No, your brother
Mm.
wasn't worth
You
nothing.
know your brother ain't. You know your brother. You know your brother. So don't do that. Don't do her. But I think that at the end of the day, the main thing is no matter what people have to say, whether you're a man or a woman, you got to do what's best for you. Expect the backlash, expect it to happen, but you got to stay true to yourself. You can't stay in a relationship for other people because it's just not going to work good. It's just not going to work.
However,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I say this respectfully, sometimes when those other people are children
Oh,
who
yeah.
could really benefit from
Mm-hmm.
having the mother and the father under the same roof, I do feel certain sacrifices
Mm-hmm.
and considerations can be made intelligently and respectfully as to what that looks like to a child because they're the ones that's going to suffer and possibly repeat the cycle.
Now, are you talking about because so I will say I grew up in an experience where my mother and my stepfather were together for 20 something years.
Mm.
And she stayed with him. They divorced after about 21 years. She stayed with him because she thought she was doing the best thing for me. So there are some instances it was not the best thing for me. A lot of trauma happened as a result. So there are some times where parents feel like they are doing the best, like you said, making that sacrifice, even if they are unhappy, they're staying for the sake of the children. Sometimes that can do more damage than good, not all times. So I think you have to be careful and really look to see, am I hurting them or am I helping them? Because it was very harmful for me for her to stay. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for
Now,
her, she did what she thought was
yeah,
best for her. So, and I understand.
no doubt, but I'm not necessarily talking about because I don't know what the specifics were with your mom's situation, and
Mm-hmm.
you can only know it more so from your mother's side if you talk to your stepdad I don't know if you've gotten a chance to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
when I talk to my parents about their situation, you know, my mother has a side, my father has a side. And
Mhm.
sometimes my mother's side is simply my relationship with your father was none of your business. You
Mm.
know?
Right.
And my
Point blank.
father's
Period.
situation, I can respect that though. You know,
Yeah.
that's our
Mhm.
relationship, you know.
Yeah.
But what I say is we get together, right?
Mhm.
We're together 6, 7 years in, you know, the 7 year itch is when things kind of get a little crazy sometimes.
Mhm.
And our kid is about, and this is almost personal. I don't like to talk too much personal, but it's almost personal where
Right.
the kid is a certain age. All that kid knows is you and her. That's it.
Mhm.
You know, even if y'all ain't getting along, he can go in the room and talk to mommy and then come out in the other room and talk to daddy. And,
Mhm.
you know, but if we're cordial enough and if we have love as a baseline for
Mhm.
why we got married in the first place, you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Can we love this kid enough to say, hey, look, love, because this was my proposal. I
Okay.
swear. Look, I don't know what else you got going on out there. It ain't really my business.
Mhm.
But let's just respectfully not bring it here and just be here for the kid. Like
Mm.
he knows both. I could move on and find anybody else I want. You could do the same. But
Mhm.
this kid can't go on and find new parents. You know, my
Mhm.
son ain't the type that was going to be taking to a step parent like that. And
Mhm.
it went on to play out just like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying you should stifle yourself. Just, you know, if you can't do it, you can't do it. And
Right.
every
Right.
first thing in being in a relationship means you have to live unhappy and unhealthy. No,
Yeah.
but and thank you for posing that, Erica, because she said, but do you want your children to grow up thinking being in a relationship means you have to live unhappy and unhealthy?
Right.
No, not at all.
Mhm.
But there has to be something bigger than you. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Mhm.
And what I mean is, if you and I, for instance,
Mhm.
hypothetically had a child together, we've been together about 8 years, 9 years, but you're
Mhm.
telling me, look, I'm not feeling this. And I could be honest with you and say, look, I know you ain't been feeling this, and
Mhm.
it ain't right. But listen, they don't know what's up.
Mm.
We're making a decision as parents to say, long as you don't bring it to the house, like don't let's not go that far. It's like we're roommates almost, but we're parents and we're co-parenting.
But is it true that they don't know what's up? Kids are really smart, though. You know, so they can
No,
sense
Gary.
when things aren't.
Yeah.
They can sense when things are off between. So it's like the parents may think, "Oh, the kids don't know," but
Mm.
is that really true?
I've heard a lot of cases where the kids didn't know. He
Okay.
said, well, I didn't know. There's some
Mm-hmm.
cases, if it's toxic, it's toxic. Then that's
Right.
a whole
Right.
different story. What
Yeah.
did Gary say though?
So Gary says the worst thing you can do is for the kids. I guess stay for the kids. The kids will be okay. You hurt them more because they know the miserable you, not the happy you. And I guess that it just depends on the situation. So I think if it is something where they can see a shift in your energy and your being, you know, and they can see that y'all not lovey-dovey with each other the way that you used to be, if that's how it was, they pick up on that, you know. So I think it just depends on the situation, whether you should stay for the kids or not, because it's a case by case, I think.
That's why it goes back to preventive maintenance.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Before you even get married, um, you have to think about that. And
Mm-hmm,
and all these questions about what I said, because B. Pruitt said, what if they learn that the relationship is no affection or bonding, since they don't know the truth?
mm,
I guess that kind of goes back to what my mother was saying. Like, my relationship with your father ain't your business. Not my personal relationship with him,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
as a parent and us, because you've seen the lovey-dovey stuff. Like, my son seen all the lovey-dovey stuff up until he was 8 years old. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
7 years old or whatever.
Mm-hmm,
Going forward, if we're being cordial, you know, it's because if our relationship was built on love to begin with, the
mm-hmm,
love shouldn't end.
mm-hmm,
I've broken up with people that I still to this day love. I love you.
mm-hmm.
If I heard you needed something or I could be there for you or any kind of way, we ain't been together in probably 20 years. But if I
Mm-hmm.
can do it, I'm going to do it because I love you. I know you as a person.
Yeah.
So if we're cohabitating, you know, or we got to get our money up where we can have different residences where this kid ain't losing nothing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But we still gonna have to be able to get along for the sake of the kid, at least till the kid gets to be a certain age where we can have a intelligent conversation. But if it's toxic, it's always gonna be toxic, no matter what the
Yeah.
situation is.
Yeah. So I think Erica says, then you agree to co-parent respectfully and allow the child to see you live happily and remain adult enough to remain amicable. So it just sounds like in that situation, what she's saying is, okay, we'll separate, but we'll co-parent and make sure that, we're still showing that love when we're with that child so they can see it, but we're just choosing not to be together. It's tough when kids are involved. I don't have children, so I don't know all the nuances associated with this.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. I can only speak from the child's perspective because I was a child in that type of environment. But like I said, it just really depends on your situation.
And what's crazy is because my first marriage was like the situation with you and your mom, where I was the stepdad. But then my second marriage, this is my actual child, what have you.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be delicate. But that's what you have to think about before you make these rash decisions. Why did you get married in the first place?
Yeah.
What made you convince yourself that this was the person you were going to be with for the rest of your life? Why is divorce even an option? If divorce is an option, I feel like you shouldn't be getting married.
Wow. So let's see what Janelle says. Thank y'all for y'all comments. This is good stuff. So Janelle says, my kid's father was like, nobody's gonna want you with 2 kids. Ooh, that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself, Janelle. I wanna touch on that probably in a future show to talk more about that. Say, okay, that's fine, but I'm not staying in a place where I'm unhappy, like really hate it here. Like, there are people that believe like the more kids you have, the less likely you are able to find someone else. And so that could be another reason why people choose to stay, because they're like, well, ain't nobody gonna want me with 2 kids or 4 kids, So what you think about that?
The wrong person ain't gonna want you. But the wrong person didn't want you when you had no kids. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, you got to find the right person. It would be better to find the right person before you have 1 kid. You know what I'm saying? And have the kid with the right person.
Yeah.
But you can't let that stop you,
Yeah. So Tripp was saying he stayed for his daughter, and that was the worst decision he made. So for some people it just doesn't doesn't work for them. Yeah. So let's see what Oz says. So now you're writing a book, Oz. We ain't got that much time. So he said, our professor said to his students, who comes first, your children or your spouse? All the students said, all my kids come first. He said, you are all wrong. A child will always be your child, but a marriage is a constant work in progress. Your wife may not always be your wife, and your husband can end up someone else's husband. Interesting.
So OZ, when you started going to Harvard, bro, that's my man. And this is a friend I've had since my first marriage and knew me, through my second marriage. That's a long time friend of mine.
That's okay. That's a perspective. That's a way to look at it. So not putting the children first, not to mean that they're not a priority and they're not important, but really cultivating, putting energy into the marriage and your spouse, as opposed to putting the kids first. Like, that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself too.
Thank you. We're gonna have to write that down.
Exactly. We get some good topics. So
to address what the young lady said about the 2 kids. What her husband said to me is typical. I said that is typical, and he said that out of pain, and a lot of times, that's just said in pain, because you got to ask the same question. Any good woman worth her weight in salt is going to ask him the same question. Well, what happened to leaving your wife and she got 2 kids, especially if they're small kids? How come this didn't work? What was the part you played in it? Because people are always quick to say what the partner did wrong, but they don't necessarily address how they showed up in that. But you'll find out sooner than later.
Absolutely. And Patrice said the same thing. She said she's been told many times it would be hard for her because she has 2 kids. So it's, it's one of those things where, look, do you, and not to be living your life based on what these people are saying. I know it's tough. I know, some of those words get into you and you start believing those truths, but it's one of those things where you got to stay focused on what your goals are and what you truly desire, and trust that it will come to you if that's what you desire. So if we were to wrap this up in a nice little bow, we're talking about marriage over 40, and then we went on a whole lot of other paths, which is good because this was a great dialogue tonight. And like I said, this is just a sneak peek into what you're going to get with Nat and I on the What's the Situation podcast that we have coming up very Mhm.
we're not done with this conversation either. If you
We're
want a
not
little bit more of this sneak peek, next week, an hour before you came here at 7 o'clock, you can follow me over on Instagram at @NatBusy. We're gonna definitely continue the conversation where Siobhan will be my esteemed guest, and we cuss over there. No, I'm just playing.
Okay. I ain't
I'm just
gonna
playing.
cuss with you, but you can cuss.
No, I'm just playing. They do be cussing. They do a lot of stuff
Yeah.
over there, but we're
Yeah.
going to talk about this even more in depth. We got other topics we're going to discuss, and we want to know what's the situation, what you going
What's the situation? Look, so
through.
yeah, so in our last minutes together, how would you wrap this up in a bow? Like the last words, marriage over 40, marriage period. Like, what would you say to the people who are viewing tonight?
Know what you want to get out of it before you get in it.
Mm.
What's the objective?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's just to be married, I don't think that's a good enough objective.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody goes to college just to go to college. They have an objective. They got a degree they're pursuing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does anything without knowing what they want out of it. But a lot of us, we make these decisions not knowing what we want the outcome to be. We go to college not picking a major. We join the military with no objective. We get jobs just to have a job. And we get in marriages just to be married.
Wow.
It's not always good.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And so the only thing I would add to that is whether you are, desiring to be married or not, just figure out what you want to do. Basically, like he said, just know your why, know what you're getting into, know what you desire. And if you want to be married over 40, do it. So the question that I had posed was, marriage over 40, is it worth it? And only you can answer that question. We can't answer that for you because it depends on what you want. So ask yourself that question, answer that question for yourself, not based on what anybody else has to say, but what do you want? And who cares? Like Tabitha says, it's your business, baby. If you want to just cohabitate, at 45, that's your business. Like who am I to tell you that you shouldn't do that? If you want to get married at 60, baby, that's your business. So just do you. At the end of the day, that's what we want you to do. So yeah.
And we do want to touch on the fact that sometimes as you're growing old together, you're going to need somebody to sign some papers for you. You're going to need somebody to be your power of attorney and things of that nature. And sometimes you've been estranged from your kids or you've been estranged from other relatives. You've been spending every day with this person.
Yeah.
That's when you may want to think, maybe I want to go get some paperwork on this just in case.
Right. Absolutely. So this has been fun. Thank y'all so much. And like I said, follow us on What's the Situation _PC on Instagram. Check us out. And next week, listen, so all this talk about 6 figures and all this kind of stuff, and women wanting men with 6 figures, we're going to talk about it next week. I have found 4 men that will share their views on women who desire to
get 6 figures.
Listen, I don't know about their business. So look, we're going to talk about it. I don't know what they making, but we're going to have a conversation about it. They may share, I don't know, but we're going to have a conversation from the man's perspective because we hear women talking about it all the time. They want men with 6 figures. Well, let's see what the men have to say about that. What are their views about women who date men who only make 6 figures? So we're going to talk about it next week on Relationship Talks. Until next time, good night.
Peace.